Your assistant didn't even get the door for you.
Welcome.
Are we
live? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We are now. I got to turn my volume on mine down.
Week trying to pull this show off. So.
Bill and I have been sitting here patiently waiting for an entire week, 7 days, to bring you Eastmania live from Artisan Guitars. Bill, welcome to your own store.
Thank you, all of you. Yes, thank you.
Thanks everyone for waiting for a week with us. I know it's been a long week. For anyone the uninitiated, we tried to do this last week on our typical Thursday, and the minute we were set to go live, or the second I guess we were set to go live, we had no signal. So
that's it.
I operate most days without a signal, but in this case, it's kind of necessary to go out. So welcome to the shop. We decided for some fun, grins and giggles, as Ellie would say, we would give you a look at our Eastman guitars that we've just started carrying here in the shop. You've been familiar with Collings and with the Huss and Daltons and obviously Fender Custom Shop, but this is a new line for us.
And we're picky. We don't just decide to add something to the family without a lot of thought. And given a lot of thought, let's talk about the history a little bit.
Please.
So, 1992, if my memory is correct, I'm doing this without my notes. Mr. Chin Ni, pronounce that properly?
Yes.
Close enough.
Yes.
Chin Ni, graduated from the Boston School of Music, I believe, in 1992, and he wanted and he started a violin shop, and he somehow bonded with the frame of mind, the research, maybe philosophy that the German Guild founded in 1690, which goes way back. So we're talking about, luthiers who became master luthiers through an apprentice program that was very strict. We're talking about everything from the science of how wood grows and choosing woods by hand and tap tuning tops and cutting braces, scalloping braces. Where's my top here, by example? Controlling the resonant frequency of a top by scalloping the braces with chisels, knives, and finger planes. So not a craft that you spend, time reading a book and you become a master at. And in that fashion, he founded Eastman Strings. And that was a violin building company. So coming into almost 3 decades of that period of time, or since that period of time, he has also 2 other companies, or 3 other companies. One is, I guess you could say upper end flutes.
Their woodwind line is up there.
Yeah, it's really up there.
When you're in open hole B flat, gold plated,
and
platinum.
Yeah, that's very high end.
That'll be next week's show. You and I have a week to get good at our embouchure.
Yeah, right. And also brass. He has a separate brass department. Yeah. And then somewhere along the path, about 15 years ago, founded this division of Eastman Strings that takes the elements of this craft, choosing woods by hand, tap tuning tops, cutting braces by hand, and migrates that into flat top guitars and mandolins. And very dedicated to the tradition of the German Guild.
Well, absolutely that, and also we've going through studying them, the jazz guitar realm too, like the big hollow jazz box.
That's kind of where this kind of started.
Where they meet.
And they had a very open ear policy when they started this and started to bring their product to the United States. When I say that, you have bespoke luthiers like Bob Benedetto, Richard Hoover at Santa Cruz, even the Collins crew would, help, them decide that this worked, that didn't work, and kind of bring them along the way.
Right, sharing what they've learned.
Sharing their knowledge.
Which is cool.
Which is something that that revelation started here in our country in the 60s. There were no guitar building books. There were only violin building books from 200 or 300 years ago. So those fellas and gals, some of them, have spent a lifetime trying to figure that out, and they've shared a lot of that information with with chin, knee.
Right, which only I think you and I both noticed when we first put hands on a number of these guitars, which we're going to talk about quite a few of the models, but we both noticed right away, you go, whoa, somebody's paying attention to, somebody made sure to, you know, the I's are dotted on these instruments, which is cool because it's not just, well, let's see how this works. Like you dealt for so many years with the Santa Cruz folks, with Dana Bourgeois, we've obviously kept up with the Collings folks. These are the benchmarks in this industry.
They are the benchmarks, absolutely.
Martin obviously was is still, if not the most recognized, one of the most historically and still to present day.
Yeah.
These take a lot from their inspiration. They draw a lot from Martin's inspiration, but as you point out, small details from these bespoke brands, if you want to look at them that way. We think of them that way. So
we do. Yeah.
That's a really accurate way of looking at it, I think. Yeah. So it's almost like a coming together of a number of bits of knowledge from each of these builders.
And recently, if you've not heard in the news, the partnering of Bourgeois Guitars with Eastman, which is a collaboration. I guess the press releases, if you just want to elaborate on that, Dana's going to help them from everything choosing woods to designing specific models and so on and so forth. So there becomes a footprint in the United States with a pretty renowned builder. Dana's pretty famous for a lot of things he's done over the years, and a great partnership and a great way to take this to the next level.
And also, when we think of a builder whose name, obviously Bourgeois puts his name on everything that he's ever produced, they were one of the first, if I'm correct, that they started using torrefied tops, and we're going to get into that a little bit because Eastman is using torrefied tops.
And Dana embraced that pretty heavily when it first came along.
Well, thank you for the lead up to where we are now with these instruments, because as you say, about a 30-year run, but what have you done for me lately is what we say to guitar builders. Let me see what's new. So we wanted to feature some of the instruments that we'll be carrying, and folks that are watching probably do know some of the instruments that we carry and are familiar with. How do these work alongside the instruments that we have already in the showroom? So,
or maybe that you have in your collection.
Absolutely, yeah, good point. Very good point. We often have people call that say, I got one of these, I got one of the, I don't have one of those.
Right.
So the first instrument that I'm holding is recognizable, I think, to a lot of folks because it is a square shoulder dreadnought. It's a spruce top with an East Indian rosewood back and sides. First thing we noticed was visually the quality on the East Indian rosewood was.
Is that the E20?
This is the E8.
E8, forgive me. Okay.
So I'm starting with the Sitka top guitar.
Sitka top. Okay.
I think of this as a herringbone Eastman version of if you're a Martin owner and you have a D28. I'm holding the Sitka top. So big old square shoulder dreadnought. In the key of G. One thing I noticed right away is that it sounds like what I'm expecting from an instrument of this shape and size with these woods. So I think we were both really impressed right away with that. It's not, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was hoping it would sound like a square shoulder dreadnought, a rosewood especially. Sometimes those can overwhelm microphones, but this sounds really balanced to me. Again, this is not a torrefied top. This is just where this begins. And you can hear these on the website. We have sound clips, audio clips on the website. But that's essentially where I would start this. We know that they do have some models that are a little before here, and we go further from that with the Adirondack tops, but we decided this would be a good starting point for us.
Absolutely. That guitar is $1,100.
Okay, that's $1,100.
No sales pitch, just want to put things in perspective.
Yeah, but it's good to notice that it is. I mean, I think of $1,000 guitar as being. I'm spoiled. I get a chance to play some pretty exceptional instruments, but I still think of $1,000. Oh, that's a step up guitar for a lot of folks if they've had something for their first portion of their guitar playing, they might be ready to move into something like this.
Yeah.
Often players aren't necessarily needing to go above something like this, but this is a really good next step. So from here, I would go to the...
This guy.
I would go to the Addy top.
Got it.
And you hear my use of the lingo, because I'm an in-the-know kind of guy. I call Adirondack Addy. She goes by her nickname. Here's the difference. If you can listen if you've got headphones on or speakers on. If I'm coming through your mobile phone, I apologize. This is what my voice actually sounds like regardless. I notice volume right away.
Right.
And I'm playing with a medium pick, but I notice much more. If I have to talk louder when I'm playing a guitar, it means the guitar is pumping out quite a bit more audio. And Adirondack or red spruce, you can see how much wider the grain is. This is their E20 that we were talking about.
That's right.
Same neck volute as a volute, however you want to say it, of a D28 style instrument.
Satin neck.
Satin neck, which is cool because a lot of folks that we get comments from, they say, a sticky neck is a little not quite to my liking. This would be, I think, a real contender for someone who is looking at a Martin instrument, what they might also want to consider. It's not heavy, it's not clunky, it's balanced really well. All the things that we typically look at in an instrument at a lower price point. Yeah, but does it feel like they did a good job to finish it off? Correct me if I'm wrong, but when these hit the shores of the United States, they are set up and they have to pass inspection in California.
That's right. Yeah, they come shipped out of Pomona, but there's an entire setup process there.
Right.
Yeah.
And this guitar does feel like it was,
Yeah.
when you can see the nut was cut correctly and things do feel as if they've been once-overed. That's a new term. Let's see if we've got any questions coming in here. We've got folks watching from all over. We do have folks from California.
Excellent.
West Virginia. Take me home. North Carolina. Melbourne. We always have Australians. Thank you to the Aussies who watch us.
We love it. And they're way late at night, probably.
Well, yeah.
Or early in the morning.
Well, no, and they're in the middle of winter, so
that's true.
We're thinking about them.
Yeah.
Well, this is my Adirondack top. Again, no Thermocured. I've only got one instrument. You actually have the Thermocured instrument. Yeah. We can move into that one. Let's wait on that one a little bit. All but right. That's square-shouldered. That's dreadnought territory. And this would be, if you're looking at that top there that's on the table, Bill, is that what I would be seeing underneath this particular?
Talking about X brace, yes. Tone bars,
yeah,
the whole bit. Scallop bracing, forward shifted X. Very, very traditional Martin style
this
build.
This is Martin territory.
Or, well, this is actually a Collins top, but to be honest.
Well,
but
we know them too.
But yeah.
Okay, so something that we wanted to try after we went through the two square-shouldered dreadnoughts is let's take some of the brands that we're familiar with,
right,
and maybe some of the people watching are familiar with if they know our shop, and how would some of these instruments from Eastman compare? There's one that I wanted real bad. I wanted it to show up, and I wanted to be impressed with it, and I definitely am, and that's...
You're going to go there first? Go ahead.
I can. Where do you want to go?
No, go ahead.
Well, do you think I should start there?
It's very impressive. No, go ahead.
Okay. I'm thinking just because a lot of people, if they've grown up in North America or in Europe, music that has been produced in the last, the latter part of the previous century and all of this century, if we hear an acoustic guitar on record, whether we know it or not, chances are it was most likely a Mahogany Dread, possibly a Gibson, like a J45.
That's for recording, yeah.
For recording, a D18 from Martin. Our ears are pretty used to hearing this particular, if you're a Petty fan, if you're a Beatles fan, if you're I'm trying to think of any other acoustics that just knock my socks off sonically. Strumming and just warmth, things that go to tape really well if you still use tape. They don't need a lot of manipulation after the fact, and this is one of those guitars.
Set it flat, it all comes through.
Yeah,
clarity, string balance, the whole bit,
exactly. There's
mahogany.
not too much of one thing. It's that Goldilocks porridge of the just right. This is their E10. So with a 10 for their terminology, much like Martin being an 18, which is a mahogany instrument. 10 for them is mahogany. 20 for the Eastman folks is rosewood. So we'll get to know a little bit about what the numbers mean. But this is a varnish finish, which varnish is more
Oil-based varnish,
Yeah.
hand applied, hand rubbed into essentially what Americans might relate to a French polish. So very thin,
Gotcha.
not a flat, high gloss finish.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's shiny, but it's not gloss. It's
No,
not
it's not got a deep gloss finish
Right.
at all. It's a very thin finish, and purposely, you know, moving in the Depression era, going from oil-based varnish to nitrocellulose lacquer, looking for something that cures quicker but is still flexible, avoiding what comes about in maybe the 50s and 60s polyester finishes and UV light cured stuff and all that, which is stiffer and all that. That's probably the thinnest finish that's more flexible than anything. So they brought that from the violin building
Right.
that evolved, again, almost 3 decades ago. And so we have that option in that guitar.
Right, and they've
Yeah.
they've aged it. We
Yeah.
see a number of
It's an interesting, yeah.
a number of our
looking guitar.
builders do aging, but this is just a really neat look on this instrument. Again, I'm hoping to be wowed by these because I want to sound like, oh, I need a Gibson J45 sound for my arsenal.
It's a short scale. It's all the right specs. Yep.
Any Jackson Brown
I was gonna
fans
say
in the
Jackson
house?
Brown.
Any Jackson Brown fans
That's
in
where
the
it
house?
takes my head, yeah.
Jackson Brown fan. Are we all? This is for me when I first strummed it. It go. Wow. Hoping for that sound.
Right.
That for me, it's always in that low register.
Yeah.
They've done the reverse belly bridge, which very
Yep.
Gibson inspired.
Very traditional.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool in photos, and I was really hopeful that it was going to sound as incredible as I think it does. We wanted to compare it to a slope-shouldered Dread from the folks at Collings.
What
And
era is that guitar from? That's not a new guitar.
This instrument?
Yep.
This instrument is modeled after something. They wanted to model it after something in the mid-30s to the early 40s, like the golden era.
I'm sorry, this is not a new guitar is the point. That's a used.
Oh, this is a pre-owned instrument.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's broken in.
it's a little bit more opened up. You're not wrong.
Right.
So maybe I'm giving an advantage to this instrument, but that's not. We don't have to talk about that part of it. But
No.
I agree with you because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
always talk about that in the shop here. When
Yeah,
an
yeah.
instrument is new, it sounds one way. As it ages and as you play it, remember, onus is on all the players to actually be performing with their instruments.
The top becomes more flexible.
It does. And let's talk. Let me listen to this, and then let's talk about that because this is the same wood combination. This is Addy and Mahogany, Hunter and Mahogany for the back and sides in a slope shoulder. Take up half the show just listening to the thing sustain. It's fantastic. So when you talk about the top woods,
Yep.
sound, we hear a number of terms. Soundboard, top. We hear
Yep.
folks in Europe and overseas call it the
Yep.
face.
The
The
face.
Aussies call it the face every
The
once in a while
Aussies
too.
call it a face, right? So there's some interesting fundamental science that a lot of guitar players don't understand, or mostly because it's not been explained to them, really, to be honest. But Sitka spruce is probably the most popular soundboard for an acoustic guitar in the world because it's plentiful, in high quality for making musical instruments, for making guitar tops especially. And it has some flexibility to it, so it's not necessarily what you're going to take to a bluegrass shootout. Yet it has a lot of balance to it, and without being overwhelmingly stiff or loud in the treble register. This is Adirondack red spruce. I can't bend that, or I can't make it flop like that, right? This is much slower growing, and between even something softer than Sitka spruce, maybe the stiffest Adirondack top, we've got 7 different species of spruce, all of which are going to have different registers or ranges of frequencies, right? And then within the tree itself, we often don't think about it, but if it takes 100 years to grow a certain species, the top of the tree is holding less weight and it's less dense than the middle of the tree, and the middle of the tree is lighter than the bottom or the base of the tree. So when you harvest all the sets of wood out of the tree, they all have different resonant frequencies. So the guitar builder who is trained in the fashion that we're talking about, hand voicing tops, has got to tap the top or listen to the tonal register of the top, and then they're going to choose the top based on that character, and they're going to add mass to the top, and they can continue to tap the top and listen to it, but while they're doing it, they're carving the top and removing some of the X brace and the tone bars to tune the top to the voice that we hear. And what that's really about in a lifespan of someone like Bill Collins is building a better mousetrap. And by that, simple definition would be saying consistency. So, if you could build one outstanding instrument out of the first 10 that you built, you'd have to ask yourself, why was that one better? And can I do that consistently? So over a lifetime spent of trying to develop that craft, they've taken into consideration the density of this wood for the specific gravity, and what is the character and range that gives me that consistency in that sound, whether it's Eastman, whether it's Collins, whether it's Hudson Dalton, all of whom have their own universal, you could say, specific voice.
Right.
And you hear it every time you
do.
strum a Collins, you hear it from Hudson Dalton every time you strum one of their guitars. And the players that are in the marketplace, looking at and shopping for guitars, what they're really looking for is, something that blows their socks off, but also then the consistency within that brand. And that's what we're looking for. That's why it's one of the reasons we picked this brand. This is, to me, that's what's very common amongst the first 9 that we got out of the 24 that we ordered. Yep. There's a lot of consistency here, and that usually only comes with spending a lifetime trying to do this.
Good point, because they, as you mentioned earlier, they definitely did go and either pick up the phone or they ventured to these builders and said, show me what's going, pull back the curtain. Because, again, as a couple of our viewers are pointing out, someone's comment was, $1,000 is the top end of my budget. Eastman's more my speed. That's a really common refrain from people that are looking to get a more high-quality instrument, a musical instrument, not just the components don't just make the instrument.
Doesn't just look like a guitar.
It has to be built purposefully as, wanting to sound in the J45 range. The one I'm currently holding is their 422, their AC 422, which if you take a look at it, the first thing that comes to my mind is not Martin or Gibson. This is Taylor territory, folks. We know that the Taylor company in San Diego builds a lot of instruments. Most people who play guitar, even lots of people who don't play guitar, know what a Taylor is and knows what it looks like. Right. It's ubiquitous. They have challenged Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, for top spot of most well-known
proprietary
acoustic
headstock shape, proprietary everything.
Totally.
Pickguard shape, identifiable anywhere on the planet.
And we're so lucky we get to see a number of them because we obviously, if there are that many in the market, we get to know a lot of those guitars. So, not being a Taylor dealer, but being familiar with them and all being guitar players ourselves, we kind of have that sound. I kind of know what a Taylor, what to expect from it, what I'm listening for. This is their 422 in that series. This is a Sitka top, as you mentioned. That was the first spruce that Bill was talking about.
Right.
And again, their East Indian rosewood back and sides is
Grand Auditorium, right?
This is the Grand Auditorium, what I call my living room. Yes, I only know one chord. It's G with some offshoots. This has, you can look right in my sound hole.
LR Bags VTC.
You got it. So I've got my volume and tone underneath the edge here, which I like because the another thing that I noticed is that they obviously paid really close attention to where this was placed. Yep. It's not obviously sticking out. It's not in the wrong place. It's not certain things that I have noticed on other instruments in the $1,000 to $2,000 range.
Yeah.
They put their microscope over a few things and well, we'll skip the rest. No, these guys seem to really pay attention to where pieces fit and how they fit together. This is a fun instrument to play. A cutaway, obviously, if you want to shred, because we highly encourage people to do that on an acoustic. I wanted to, this will be interesting. This is a Taylor that we happen to have in the shop.
Nice job.
Was it?
Well, yeah, didn't fall over.
It's yet to be determined. This is a Taylor that we have in the shop. Again, a cutaway. We wanted to give you an idea of this instrument retails for quite a bit more money and has quite a bit more bling. So if you put your sunglasses on, you can watch me play. But this is an East Indian rosewood instrument from Taylor in California.
Actually,
and this is
Cocobolo.
This is Cocobolo on the back and sides. Look at that. And it's fun to say. I had a $7,000 desk once that was made of Cocobolo. And again, this is a pre-owned instrument, so probably been played a little bit more than our 422, but you get a sense of what they're able to do in, as we mentioned, that instrument that I was just playing is $1,200. This is a little more. I like them both. I'm a sucker, though, because I like guitars a lot. Let's move into... Well, you've got an OM. Do you want to talk a little bit about? You've talked about the top woods and how they would be in their natural state. What's going on with a thermocured or a torrefied top?
Yeah, a lot of people talk about a cooktop, and we hear all kinds of different terminologies. Some of the more common marketing terms are baked, thermocured, so on and so forth. So what we're really talking about is literally cooking the wood, and if I recall all the early conversations that I had with Dana, and forgive me, Dana, if I'm misquoting you, but that the tree was alive. It had sap in the tree itself, in the cell structure. It becomes a solid when you let the wood dry. If you've cut it, you harvest it, and there are 3 linings that this sap makes up in the cell structure. In a top that ages somewhere between 80 and 100 years, the sap that turned into crystallizes, it gases off naturally.
Same.
So what happens is the top becomes stiffer and lighter weight fundamentally. So say take a 30s Martin, which everybody would love to have.
Me too, yep.
You cook the wood of a freshly air-dried, harvested piece of wood that's maybe, I don't know, 5 years old. And you cook it, and you're cooking off those resins, and you're essentially aging the wood. It does discolor the wood, as we can see in any torrefied top. Some people like that, some people don't like that. I don't mind it, but it makes the top stiffer and lighter. There's no question. It makes it a more powerful instrument. It's as though it has been played in. Can we turn the guitar around for you again? I can keep turning it. There you go. but it makes the guitar sound like it's been played in for
Right.
20 or 30 years.
And we don't have any evidence yet of how that's going to, what that'll do 10, 20 years from now, whether the instrument you're holding and the instrument I'm holding, which for all intents and purposes are pretty similar. I mean, we've got a different spruce, but that's broken in.
Yep.
Is it going to sound the same as naturally aging?
That question came in early on when everybody was, all the builders were trying torrefied tops. And that question won't be known for decades. Will it continue to age, or are we maxed out? But one thing's for sure: as a brand new instrument, this is an advantage for any player in terms of volume. You got more complexity even on a mahogany guitar with a cooktop. Right. You have some overtones you would normally only expect to hear from a rosewood guitar, which is very unusual for a mahogany guitar, and it's all about the cooktop over a good build. We point that out. I think that might be one of the most common things that I find myself saying to folks is, people ask, I read on a forum that X, Y, and Z, and you think, yes, I'm sure that some of these things apply and don't apply to certain guitars, but if the guitar is built well, using exceptional materials and put together in the proper way, a thermocured or as they say, a torrefied top is probably going to have more impact. You'll get more advantage out of it. You'll notice it more if it's actually a well-built instrument. Absolutely.
You can't just put, what is the term about putting lipstick on a pig? You can't just torrefy. I can't just hold my Bic lighter up to any guitar and make it better. That ain't going to work. But if I'm holding the OM in rosewood with a Sitka top, this is the E8 OM.
Yeah, and this one. What is this one?
Yours is Thermocured Addy. So that's the big kahuna in a smaller body. I guess that's the medium kahuna. It's an OM with Addy and Thermocured. But if I listen to mine, and I don't even need, I'll play a little bit with the pick and then with my fingers. Because these have much quicker, almost a quicker note response, don't they? Because of the shallower body than some of these big boys. If I finger pick. That sounds pretty good.
Sounds very good
without the torrefaction. And is it torrefaction or torrefication?
Well, we've abused the term so far. I couldn't tell you what's right or wrong.
I think it's torrefaction, but who knows? That sounds like a workout program at my school.
Well, Wikipedia would probably straighten us all.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem is people do research on Wikipedia. Oh, this one's lighter right away. I feel it.
It is lighter.
I feel it lighter. More of that. It's a little softer, but it's like it's developed more than just the high frequency on that.
Well, hit it with a pick before you're done.
I'm ready to join the Eagles. I sound like I could be in the Eagles. Okay, so that's the torrefied, the E20, and they call it thermocured, so that TC in the title will stand for thermocured. Like you pointed out, there's a number of ways of saying that. Now, this is from Collings. This is their OM2H, a sunburst, but I wanted to give you a sense of what that sounded like compared to either of these. Really tight. It's got this needs to be played. Yeah. But it's got that zing that I'm listening for.
That zing that comes with every Collings.
Included with every Collings.
Right.
This would work so well alongside any of these other instruments too, because it can fit itself in. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great.
That sounds really good. Well, that's a pretty good overview of I think what we'll be carrying, concentrating mostly on acoustics currently, correct?
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah.
If folks have questions, do you have answers for them if they want to get in touch with the shop?
If we can, are there any questions we can answer right now?
Well,
or send us questions.
Yeah, that'll be. We don't have anything from the PCH at the moment.
We have on order. We do.
On order, we do. So maybe in later, much later in the show, Vic.
much later.
Yeah, most.
We want to try a little bit of everything that they offer, without excluding anything. Really, we've even ordered one of the Django guitars.
Great.
Which I'm looking forward to, isn't it?
Yeah, because we do. I mean, you and I are pretty spoiled being here in Nashville. There are players of every variety. The best, I should say, the best players of every variety make their way somehow to Nashville. We have folks dropping by in normal times. We have people that sit down with one of these instruments and know quite a few more chords than I do, and that's always fun to listen to somebody who actually knows how to use it. But this works for players of that. My point is that players at that level can get a lot out of an instrument that's at this level.
Absolutely.
And a lot of players that maybe aren't necessarily ready for a callings yet, or haven't developed ears that hear the difference between them. This is in their wheelhouse as well.
Yep.
Is how we would view it. So if people want to get in touch with the shop via email or call, send messages on our Facebook. Obviously, we've got you know how to find us. And then, folks are mentioning their mandolins. I think a lot of people are familiar with this name.
In the mandolin world, too, especially.
Yeah.
It's a very, very competitive brand in the sense that it brings that value again and that hand craftsmanship. And I'm not a mandolin player, but that's what mandolin players tell me.
Right on.
And that's been from the onset of them coming to the United States and then moving up the food chain to become notoriously good.
That's
for
great.
Value.
Well, and like we say, jazz guitars, whether they're solid top or ply tops or press tops, they do a solid body line. They do a number of different things. So check out the website. Check out our website. All the audio clips that you hear on our website that accompany these instruments, they are these exact instruments. Some idiot here recorded them for your listening pleasure. And this is going to be up on YouTube after it's on our Facebook. So please, if you have more questions after we're off the air, continue to ask us questions. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for getting into the woods for us.
No problem.
That's that's what we pay you for.
Kind of where I hang out.
That's why we keep you around.
I'll hang out.
That's why we hang out right in there. That's your wheelhouse.
Definitely.
Thank you for watching and for your comments. And as always, we'll be back next week with an artist to enjoy some music.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye from
Thank you.
Nashville.
Goodbye.